Welcome back to another review and feedback. Well, we're going to continue the series of Mech versus Zerg. In this one, I, again, don't know what we're going to walk into other than that it is Mech and Zerg. This was game was provided by Eftoo, yet again. I got all of these off of the All Things Zerg forum. I've been just grabbing them right after another because they really walk through each one of the different matchups you're going to see as a Zerg player against Terran Mech. So what we're trying to do at this point is looking for similarities between games, different tactics that F2 has decided to leverage in order to take W's, and things of that nature. And I don't know if he wins all of them or not, but he definitely has given us a lot of information to show, hey, this is how they handled it. Hey, I did tech switches. Hey, using the spellcasters, attacking early, making sure that they keep them restrained, so on and so forth. So here we are. We're going to jump right on into the game. This is Draconix, who is a 5.5K GM that is not currently active in GM because of their they don't have the game count. They have the MMR. There is quite a few of those players out there, just fair warning. They just don't have the border, but they have the MMR. It's very important to note that you need about 30 games in a month or something along those lines, maybe every 2 weeks in order to stay in the GM bracket. And you have to do that at the end of the season to conclude in GM. So what you're going to see is both players playing at a very extremely high level. This is the gas first play. So if you are scouting as a Zerg, send over a drone a little bit early. You can get in there and you can see that they're going to have gas already mined prior to the barracks being completed by a significant amount, usually much, much earlier than you'd expect. You can see there's a scout on the way out just to see if there's anything crazy. If you are uncomfortable scouting, and that's okay as a Zerg, generally speaking, you just have to be aware that there are certain builds that will straight up kill you. 5 racks, proxy 5 racks, proxy 3 racks Reaper, which they can do 1, 2, and 3 at home and send them across, which gives them a nice protected natural as they're microing and building up minerals and killing off hatcheries, which they can kill off your third pretty effectively. They can do that with 2 bases or 2 barracks as well. There's a lot of different things that are out there. The SCV scouting suggests that they're going to open with a Marine. Sometimes they'll open with a Reaper. This build explicitly is going to accelerate how fast you get the factory, but not by such a great amount that you're going to be, this is weird. So I think this is an inefficient build. The factory needs to go down as soon as you have the gas, not as soon as you have the minerals plus 20-some or 30-some gas. That being said, they are 5.5K MMR. I'm nowhere near that. So this build, they definitely have something in mind. Maybe they're saving up so that they can get a reactor immediately. That it is. So actually not truly inefficient, but there is a slight possibility to improve gas expenditure with the build, but you don't need to. The reason being is an opening as a Reaper allows for a lot of micro control, being very on top of their opponent, being knowledgeable in what they're going to do, being annoying, sometimes getting a drone or a couple of lings. Usually Reapers, there's one. Usually Reapers are going to be efficient enough to get you at least 1 kill. If you can get more than that, that's going to help you a lot. Oop, might die. Barely gets out. I like to deny the creep tumor personally. The reason being that I like to deny that is so that my opponent has less information. It slows them down and it costs them the energy for that larva, and then they have to do it again in order to get their creep going, or they're going to lose all that information. And I can set up right here or right around here with my initial push, or actually they usually have a little bit further out. They usually go like way out here or way out here by the time I get there on like a 4.5 minute push. And I mean, it's going to be a small push, right? Maybe you walk in with a Reaper, or sorry, not a Reaper, 16, 20 Marines, and you hit right in their face, and it's really, really a pain for them. And you can see how this queen is still growing. They're not getting that inject quite yet. So it's just kind of, from an F2 standpoint, that creep tumor wouldn't necessarily slow down their larva production significantly, but it definitely would slow down the creep spread by a lot. This Reaper has been very active, has a total of 4 kills. Imagine that we do scout. You could see that we're going to have some Hellions on the way. We are gathering resources trying to get ourselves a Viking so we can kill off any of the loose overlords. That'll make it so that he doesn't have to worry about swarm hosts so very much, because Vikings are very good at clearing out overlords, as I'm sure you all are aware. Lots of Hellions. This is going to be a very powerful push. This can kill a large drone line without too much trouble. The fact that there's been so many Lings that have gone down, you can see that the Hellions have gotten in. Not doing quite as much damage as I would expect, but they're still doing a significant amount of kills. That was number of workers lost. I think I always have to look at it. Control R. 7 drones going down is a significant number of drones at this point in the game. Obviously, Eftoo is able to repopulate with 8 immediately. The downside with that is that those are not Lings. Those are... oopsie daisy. That is going to be just in a situation where they are going to be losing the kind of income that they need and all that good stuff. Draconix doing his best to set himself up to be successful. Puts down a bunker. Does not have any Marines or a Reaper to put into it, so that's kind of a lost expense. I think that's just to defend himself in case there's a Roach all-in. That is a follow-up. I don't know if that's going to be happening or not. I'm just saying that's probably what it's there for. Putting down Spore Crawlers, expected for Banshees. You can see that the quote Banshees on the way. That is just F2 being knowledgeable in what Terran can do and being present of mind enough to decide to protect himself. Draconix is actively looking for overlords. We'll see how far the creep is. We'll probably walk over the top. Maybe queens will pick him up. You'd have to like move your queens out here if you decided to do that. Overlord's getting pulled back because I'm sure F2 does not enjoy losing 4 overlords. That's number 3 that's dead and 4 on its way out. And of course the queens are going to kind of come over here and try and snipe it. You can see them moving around, trying to do their thing. Draconix saying, "Hi, I got it," and getting out. You can see the Overlord still pulling back. Overlord out here kind of getting some information. These Hellions being annoying. This is what you get to start to see when you get into that GM level. Master's level is a lot of this multi-pronged control. You'll have attentions here with Banshee killing this. You'll have the Hellions trying to get in, do damage to the workers. Obviously being baited because you have all these Lings ready to stop it on the run. Banshee getting a kill. 1 queen is down. Hellions doing their best to kill this hatchery. I believe it's that this is going to be just enough to make it so that when it eventually finishes, it will die if they get to sit here and continuously shoot. You can see that it's stayed at basically the same amount of health for a long period of time. About maybe a quarter of the health bar on it. Oh, I think that was a misclick. Might be a dive. There's Lings. Oh, sees Roaches. Loses a couple of Hellions. Hellions are really good against Lings, really good against drones. Against Roaches, they are totally trash. So, generally speaking, you as a Terran need to get something a little bit more powerful than Hellions to deal with any number of Roaches that are beyond 2. Hellions still shirking around, looking for opportunities to get some damage. You can see there's about a third of the damage went out. A fourth of the fight, or a fourth in that area, occurred. The Queens are in position to defend this base. Banshees come out, slow down the gas production. Gets targeted down, but has Cloak. The Cloak makes it so that they can be shot by the Spore and be seen by the Spore beyond the Spore's range. Damage is going out from the Banshee play. Another Queen going down, which is rather annoying. Trying to pull units out of position. You can see the repositioning and the movement of all of those Banshees. Sees the Roaches and says, "Nope, getting out of there. That's the right choice." So right now we have, this is the Hellion Banshee mech style, which will eventually turn into Thor tank and a big push later on, and maybe, keyword is maybe, a BC transition. This is looks very, very much like the I'm trying to think of his name, Vibe Gold to GM build, and this is in GM. You'll see an explosion of factories and things of that nature. Grabbing a couple of workers here and there. Nothing too crazy. Just trying to slow down the production and queens that we can as we're able to. And then from that point we have a continued production, just keeping the Zerg on their side of the map. Zerg trying to grow. The Terran doing the same thing, making it so that they're on even base count or right around the same count or a little bit above. Oop, got a nice creep tumor. That was nice. Hellions do very poorly against queens. So you can see the Corruptor to shut down the Banshee play. Gotta cancel that, gotta cancel that, gotta cancel it. Didn't get a cancel. Quite expensive. You can see the play coming in. The Banshees are supposed to completely shut this down, but the Corruptor is doing a good job of warding it away and making it so that those Banshees are shut down or at least reduced. The tank Thor army is doing a good job of anchoring it. This is a very tanky army. Hellbat's getting in and doing some damage. I didn't see how many of the workers went down, but we have a explosion of roaches. When I say explosion, I think it was 20 that were produced. The Hellions were trying to get into another base. No oversaturation, well, slight oversaturation, not a big deal. Annoying, but not terrible. Slight oversaturation, again, annoying, but not terrible. Undersaturation, and no saturation because those Hellions came in and did a ton of damage. Obviously, Eftoo immediately decides to rebuild a bunch of workers to try and get himself back in on the income side of things. And then, of course, continuing to produce an army so that he can be aggressive. As this army goes back out to fight the Banshees and the bases to slow down the Terran, the Hellions coming in after they had this had been opened up earlier by the Zerg, come in and are going to try to kill a bunch of workers. Blue Flame is now available, so these will die very fast. Ooh. God, that's warm and toasty for all those workers. The Roach army and the Corruptors and Ravengers have come back to defend this base. The Hellions stopping the wall off, which is really impressive. Doing what they can to prevent the Evo chamber block off so that he could get away and have it so that he's safe from the Hellion run-bys. Decides to pull back, and that's okay. Hellions still being annoying, keeping the Zerg coming back. Terran on the other side, the Zerg says, F2 says, no, I'm going to F2, we're going to fight, and you're going to have to be able to defend me. I hope you're ready. And, of course, tanks are not sieged up, and Thors, the Banshees, all that kind of stuff is not present, because the Overseer make it so that the Banshees can be seen, no longer a viable tactic without having Vikings to support. Very large tank force. I'm surprised that F2 didn't push in here. Very surprised he stopped. Overseer on scout. But I'm surprised that he just didn't say, all right, I'm going to throw this army away and kill what I can over here, and then pay attention to the Banshee army that got away. That was happening at his base out here. And, of course, we want to continue to grow, expand, make it so that we have income. Banshees head back home. All the tanks and things are getting ready to go. And we are back into our, hey, let's find each other kind of status. The Overseer is shutting down those Banshees yet again. Again, we were talking about the Overseers and Void, or Corruptors rather, that combination on top of your Hellion, or the, not Hellions, Roaches and Ravengers is very, very effective because you have the ability to see Banshees, and Roach Ravenger on the ground is very powerful. This is a very good build composition based off of what the Terran has done. He decided to put command centers up further back. As a Terran, the more command centers you have, the better, because you can make them orbitals, planetaries, so on and so forth. Does not cost any supply, is really, really good with regards to, look at all those run-bys doing a lot of damage. Oh god, all those workers going down. That was a full, slightly oversaturated base. Now it's only 4. We have rocks going down as the Terran is trying to expand, taking the planetary, getting a nice front base. You can see it them expanding. Nice run by on the Roaches, perfect timing on that. The Zerg is ready to grab it because they're saying, hey, I know that you need more bases, and we can see both players growing very quickly against each other. Terran has decided that they have enough force that they're able to go in, fight, and win. And you can see that the Zerg player, F2, has to run away. Draconix is doing his best to find opportunities with this big old army. The Zerg needs to have enough forces to surround and kill this off. If this army gets sieged up and is in position, which it's not leapfrogging, it's just kind of meandering over, the Zerg will win if they can get them unsieged. So if I'm Draconix, I want to unsiege these, maybe a couple of these, and then move them forward. Look at that. He's doing it as I'm saying it. Because he's on creep at this point, he's worried that he's going to get surrounded. We know that that's going to happen. We need to have those tanks sieging up so that we can completely crush the Roachling army. Some Broodlords under construction or completed. Thors shut that down. The Thors, being a very heavy, big unit, are out front. They are trying to get information, get a good idea of where the army is, steal off a couple of kills. This is making it very difficult for F2. F2's eco has been hit many a times. You can see 59 workers dead there. Banshee just deciding that I'm going to go ahead and kill even more eco while this is happening. Eftoo being smart, throwing down a Spore Crawler so that he can ignore this eventually. Already at 10 kills, very, 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 very effective. Ooh, that is a massive unsiege, and Eftoo just runs in immediately onto it. Banshees are out. We have Infestors grabbing their control, making it so the Thors can't do what they're supposed to do. The army is just big enough. We scanned and grabbed all of that, and then, of course, F2 calls it a game. So, that was a very good representation of both players' skills, and it shows the difference between Draconix, where he has the ability to run all of those Hellions around, be very on top of things, being very dangerous throughout the entirety of the match, and then F2's ability to try and absorb all the damages that did occur during the battles. You could see how a Deathball of Mech is very dangerous, and why you need to stop that. So what I was saying is like, for example, that group of roaches that had a free reign into the natural didn't take that advantage. Had they gone in and killed 5-10 more workers, that timing of that attack and that push would have cost him quite a bit to do, but he could have theoretically gone on to production with the army that he had already placed in a position where he could get a lot of value. Obviously, I have complete oversight. I'm reviewing it, so from the player in the game, he might say, oh, he has tanks and stuff that are backed up behind the supply depot wall. Crap, I shouldn't attack into this, and he wants to save his value. I understand the thought process and the mentality around that, and that was something that he could have said, I have killer instinct, go. Or, you know what, I know I'm going to rebuild, I have enough army that I'm going to survive, I can lose these roaches. And I didn't look at his army. I don't know what that composition looked like. And that's on me for not actually being on top of it. But we know that in-game you have to make those split-second decisions. And some of them are going to be game-ending, game-winning. And some will be, let's take my lead, throw it away, or let me remove their lead. Other things that needed to happen that didn't quite happen was the run-bys that did exist were roach composition groupings. And that's very expensive gas-wise. And I didn't really see a lot of floating gas. And so if there were more Ling run buys, I think it would have been a little bit better. Just a little bit. We're talking, again, groups of 20 or 30, sending them around the edge, trying to get in there, try and time both of them at the same time. They don't have to be perfect. You want to make it so that your opponent feels like you're threatening them at all times. Zerg, there was the ebb and flow of the game. It's very interesting. That's why a lot of people really enjoy the Zerg versus Terran matchup, and you can see how that kind of back and forth goes. I do appreciate F2 for putting it out there where he had a loss. A lot of people don't submit any games where they take losses. It's a very impressive game. Obviously, there was an MMR difference of 500. Once you get to the upper rankings, they start to get more spread out, and the players that are much better get very little MMR, and the people that are not have little losses. And then they get pushed up against somebody that's lower ranked than them by 100, and they remake all of that, and then they have to try and fight their way up to that the higher rank again. And that's true even at the GM, like the top 15 against just regular GMs, and then the GMs against the top 100, and then the Masters players, and so on and so forth. And that cascades down until you get into about Diamond, where you pretty much have 100 MMR, give or take, mismatches on the high end. And then, so I'm sorry about that. I forgot to mute that phone. But thank you for watching. That was a great set of games. I believe that the Terran pretty much did everything it was supposed to do in the right timings, making sure he had a good supply chance. As for the Zerg, I think he did a really good job, and a couple of little minor things he could have done to improve. And that's the difference between being 550, 5.5, and 4.95 MMR, right? Basically 5K and a 5.5K. There are those just little tiny differences, being able to get that a little bit of damage, making the decisions to run in, making sure you have your upgrades, which, by the way, F2 did not have his upgrades as he needed them. Most of that is because he lost so many workers. You can't really do anything about it when you're just trying to stay in the game for a lot of the time. And then I really liked the Infestor grabbing and all that kind of stuff. He did a really good job with a lot of different things. That being said, I don't think F2 really did anything terribly wrong, and I unfortunately don't have the skill set and knowledge in order to really, truly capitalize and say this is where you went wrong, or these are the 10 things that together resulted in the loss. But thank you again for submitting, F2. I hope you all have a good rest of the day. I look forward to having you back on the next review and feedback. Thank you again. Bye.